Hi, it's John Bustard here. I'm just going to take you through the IFITT Rapport platform and some examples, hopefully at the end, of how it has been used. Certainly one focused on a student conference called You're Hired. So firstly, I'd like to take you around the screen. Once you've logged in to the IFITT platform, you will see that we have a functionality tab here, a content tab and an appearance tab. So if we look at functionality first, one thing I love about this platform is its simplicity. So if you think about the tabs within the app and the pages that they represent, this is where the function of those tabs and pages comes together. So as you can see with this app, which is called You're Hired, and I'll just pop it out on the side so that you can see the working version. I'll click there to make sure it's the mobile app and click there again as that refreshes the app. So if you make any adjustments or changes as you go along, you can view them on this little preview screen on the side. So as you can see, this one has a drop down menu in the corner. Which from a design perspective wasn't so bright as in the light, so I would consider maybe changing that, but then you can see all of the various functions within the app. One other possibility that's quite useful is to download the actual preview app, and you can do that at previewyourapp.com, and that will allow you to basically use it as you would on the device properly. So most of the functionality works in that sense, and it's also a great way to pilot and test without going to the more difficult stage of publishing the app. So back to functionality. On the left hand side here, as you can see, we have some functions. So for example, if I wanted to add a tab, I would click here, add new tab, and this will give me a number of opportunities. So I can name it here. Okay, so let's call it tickets. Okay, and what I could do then is link that through, say, to if it was a booking engine on my website, I would find a website tab. So there are so many different functions that you can see here on the screen as we scroll down. But a website tab is right at the bottom. You can see Woohoo forms there, so if you wanted to actually build your own booking form, you could do that, but let's just choose it as if it was on a website. So it's an active tab. Then I would want to maybe add the ticket itself here, say, so I'll use this as the icon. Now there are versions, traditional and modern, but obviously the modern look at the minute is much better. So I would save those changes, and now as you can see on the left hand side, it has been added to the bottom. So I can actually move this just by pressing on the little square, and I can place it where I want it to sit on the app. So that's the function. Now that is now displayed within the app. If I didn't want it displayed within the app, I would just do this, and it now appears over on the right hand side with the loyalty tab, which are features that maybe you haven't enabled right now, but at some point in your event you may well enable them. Okay, so that is where you can add the actual function. Let's just make it live again, and let's go over now and look at the content. Maybe just before, well, yeah, so you know where you can get in and change. You can change any of those tabs to any type of function. You know, GPS coupons are a geo-fenced area which you can then have trigger by someone walking into that area, and it triggers the content coupon within the app. It's interesting because you could gather some data on triggers on opens in terms of people's movement, so that might be an interesting area for study. With all of these functions, really, from a research perspective, I've always looked at them, and you know, in terms of innovation, have looked at ways to slightly iterate or improve them. So you know, it allows for certain innovations in terms of research. Now, for example, things like the car finder, I've also used for find friends or find my ride for a motorcycle road race, so that people, whether they were on bikes or whether they were in their cars, could go back to wherever the location was. Or so, there are so many other little functions in here that you can look at. Email forms for capturing for MailChimp and various other providers. The function of sending an email photograph, which is handy and can then be incorporated into other promotions. The events tabs, which we'll see in a little while. A fan wall, which people can actually contribute their own content onto. And you can see there's version 2s of all of these. The version 2s are a little more interactive. They're a little more integrated into the social media services, and in that sense it offers some significant chances for co-creation, I think. So food ordering, if you have an event that has some food to order, that can be used. It's a great tool. Loyalty is one where you can scan certain QR codes and various things, or even if you walk into a shop, like a coffee shop for example, you can enter in the code for loyalty there. Mailing list, a membership, there's a members only area. You can create menus, merchandise. You can just input PDFs. Notepad, simple enough, just literally make notes within the app. You can link to podcasts on other services. QR coupons and QR scanner are two tools that obviously allow you to unlock. I've used that for mystery trails, where you have to unlock things as you go around. Obviously it's most used for offers. The scanner is just a tab that you can build in so that people have access to a scanner. Your app might be the one that they go to first. Reservations, so any type of activity that requires you to make a reservation. For example, in the conference app You're Hired, it could be reservation with someone to help you work on your CV, or with potential employers. So we've got some other statistics tab. Sports stats, have been looking at that as a possible way of co-creating an experience with visitors at a sports event, where they would maybe suggest their winning kind of numbers or order, and email that in. And obviously we've got some voice recording potential. There's a walkthrough tab that allows you to see how the app works, and as I said to you earlier, you can link directly into a YouTube channel, and the Wufoo form allows you to do so much more. Okay, so I'm just going to come out of that, and we're going to now go into content. So in content, what we have are the actual tabs themselves. If I wanted to, these are the tabs that are live in the app You're Hired. Okay, so on the left hand side you'll see them all listed. Sorry, that's not the mobile version, that's the mobile website version. So I'm just going to click into the mobile version. And up in the top corner. And so there we have tickets now in the top left. So we need to look at that in terms of content. So if I want this tickets to show up to my website, I just added a new web view. As you remember, this was a website tab. So now I would put the name of, I can have multiple, by the way. If you have different types of tickets and you want to link directly to those, you could link them in here. So that could be student pass, and then paste in the URL. Okay, and you can put in a thumbnail to go with that. Okay, so you click there, add a thumbnail in, and I would obviously need to put in a URL here. So let's just put in the weather from the BBC, so that you can at least see a URL live. So we have student pass in there. Okay, and really all that happens is that goes to, as you can see over on the right hand side, student pass, and I click on that particular tab, and hopefully it will serve up a page. If it doesn't, it probably is to do with the fact that it's a weather page and not a sort of straightforward URL. Or okay, so moving on from that, I'm just going to delete that one because obviously it's not live, and I'm going to make sure that function is not live as well. So I just move that off and it jumps across here back to content. So if there were new events, for example, to add, and I've learned that there's the opportunity to pull in events from another service, which is a great opportunity. This is currently made on the events version 1, so it doesn't have it. But if you do it on the events version 2, you can add in, sorry, you can do it on version 1. You can add a phone header for the heading of the image, and unless you're going to spend the time to make a tablet version of the app, which is available to you, there's just a little more design and thought required. Each of these eyes will give you an idea of the size of the images that you require to create, okay? And there are a number of varieties, not so much within the header images and so on, but in the home screen sizes, because obviously iPhone alone now has gone to a range of different sizes over time, and Android supports a ridiculous number of different screen sizes. So there's about 3 sizes for phone and usually about 2 for tablet, I believe. So again, I would enter the details of the event, the times and so on, and you can also then obviously put in the location, and that way it's geo-located so that people can actually find their way right to that event. So let's just look at an example of that that's already live, and we'll just see that within the app. Okay, events, as you can see, have all been, so I'm just going to look in the past. Okay, apologies for that, but that's where you would see the event as you created it. Here's the tab for send pics. So you can put in a small description here where you can use that maybe to ask for a particular type of photograph, or that it's for competition, or something that prompts people and reminds them what the photo sharing option is for. And as you can see, where the email would go, and you can enter a subject line, which if you wish to automate the collection of this data might be a handy way to work through the likes of Gmail. Okay, so other functions, such as, I've titled this one special, but if you were to go to workshops, this is one example where you can create the QR code that someone would sign, and it creates it, and you can just basically download that from there and incorporate it into your materials and make sure that it's at the site of the workshop. And obviously there are a number of factors to take into account when creating QR codes, but that can be done within the platform here. So if I go into edit, I've just literally created a code using the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderfully, you can generate a QR code with a web page, so it can go directly to the web page that promotes the homepage of that particular promotion, or it can go to a specific page, a phone number, anything. Very useful tool. Okay, and you can then set how many times, the target and the amount of check-ins, and the hours before you can next use it. You can have it active or inactive, and you can have a start and an end date. So lots of interesting kind of parameters there that you can play with in terms of using QR codes, which are obviously an interesting area in their own right. So hopefully that has given you some ideas of the platform. Again, I'm just showing you this for the email mailing list integration, so you can have your own, integrate it with some of the platforms that are already available out there, have the background image but you can also just have it generate on a custom platform like this one had. As you can see, if you don't link it any of those, it'll still produce a mailing list for you, and all you would do is click here to download that mailing list, as you can see. Okay, so that's another possibility. So in terms of preview, let's firstly, before we preview it in any more detail, let's just look at the appearance. So in here we can do quite a lot in terms of how the app looks and feels. At the minute we are seeing the modern slider panel. The traditional setup can be along the bottom, okay, as you can see, or the top, left or right, and you need to just design your screenshots with that in mind. And if you wish it to be more kind of or less apparent, this one, as you can see, is on the right hand side of the screen up here, and then it opens up to this, and the other is the slider tiles. Okay, so that gives you an indication of how those work. You could also show or not show the status bar, so it gives you a little more screen room. In terms of extra buttons, you can just add at the bottom call us, directions, and tell friend features. So let's just see how that looks. It would just drop in like so, again in a 3 in a row like that. You just need to design with the mindset that if you're going to use those features, to leave the space so you know, it doesn't clutter and cloud. Headers, so here's the one that we were using, the smart web one, but you can have it with no header at all. Really depends on what your purposes are. So you can have headers with throughout. You can also upload your own buttons. These are examples within here, and backgrounds that can be used for those buttons. I tend to just keep them as standard, but that gives you an indication of how you can improve maybe the viewing of them with different backgrounds. But yeah, depends on what your purposes are. And the icon colors you can change. Okay, so you can also switch them on and off and not have them. And again, for example, with this app, obviously it's difficult to see the icon, so maybe having it more white would be a better and more suitable color for the icons. That would have to be looked at. Okay, so background images. Now this is an interesting feature, because when you open the app, you have a background image, which is a key image. As you can see, it tells you which one it is. It's here, home background, along the top, and that's assigned. Okay, and then you have these home screen sliders. Sorry, so this is currently on fade, which would mean that if the image would change and fade on the main app if I chose it, but it's not currently live. So we've got home screen sliders. I'm going to put it on modern sliding, and I'm going to put it on parallax. And now these slider images are linked. Okay, so if I wanted to unlink this one, for example, so slider 1, which is linked over here, just so that I know that, I'm going to unlink it for a second. Okay, because it's currently not linked to anything anyway, but I could, if I wished, to link that particular entire slider image to the events section, say. So I've saved that, and if I wanted to change the actual image, I would just delete the entire one and start again. But what I'm interested to see is having updated that with a link and putting it on parallax, you know, what way will it perform? As you can see over here, it has started to slide a bit. This will change. Okay, and what I'm looking for is the slider 1 image, and when it would come up and I click on it, that would potentially take me through to required screen. Okay, so it's because I haven't saved it, my apologies. So now when I click on it, maybe it isn't going to work just on that setup, but you can see the slider images. It's probably best to test all of these, to be honest, in the preview app, which is easy enough to get to. Essentially you just click previewyourapp.com. So once you get to this stage, I want to just show you some other things in terms of the use of the app. The dashboard here is where we're currently situated. Then you've got messages, because this is a great feature, so you can push notifications out to users, and you can either push them to everyone, or you can push them to particular groups, or by location. Okay, so if we wanted to create one, here's where we would go. So we would say target audience, so there are none currently scheduled. So let's look at what we would go, all users or a specific area users. So let's take that for example. So now you can go in and you can create an area. So if I wished to kind of look at people within the 16-mile radius of Coleraine, or maybe just a 1-mile radius if I wanted to get down, and you can go even closer than that if you so choose, right around the area of study or the business. So that's a good little feature there, and once that's been selected, then you can link the push notification to a link within the tab. So say if it's an offer, or if it's a specific tab that you want them to go to with information on a particular location, or to an external web URL, or nothing at all. Okay, so you've got that possibility. And then publish. So that would be the last stage, but obviously because we haven't written a message in here, naughty, we would have to complete the message part first. Now, as this is only a trial app, it doesn't actually have a subscription live, so we wouldn't be able to publish as yet, but at least you can see the features. Now, analytics, critical obviously for the measurement of your app and its usage. Now, the newer stage of analytics is much more usable, and that's coming on stream, so you will be able to see that soon. But it does give you some app usage and analysis of which tabs they looked at and their country of origin. Doesn't necessarily give you as detailed a picture as, say, Google Analytics, but you just need to consider that there are some other workarounds. But yeah, I mean, think of how you can use that if that can work as a function for your research. Importantly, there's a help desk feature here where you can go in and obviously look at topics that might be an issue for you. So for example, push notifications, if you just needed to get some help on that, sending push notifications or issues, or enabling them, enabling the features and so on. So there's lots of different information within the support center, huge amount. So that's where we'd expect that you would be able to develop in your own time, and with the support of that quite thorough help desk. And QR code. So once you've created an app, this will actually generate itself, which is a great little tool to help you quickly promote something. So you can download this yourself from up here, and that means that you've got a tool that you can now use for the nature of promotion. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the platform. For more information, obviously the IFITT Report Project website will give you a bit more background to the process, and if you are interested and you wish to submit an expression of interest, you click this little button here, which will then take you to the important information on the IFITT website, and it tells you here about how to express a call for interest. The deadline is May the 22nd, and the email that you need to send to is Oriel Mirabel, and you need to CC that to IFITT. Hopefully that has given you another little insight into how the platform works, and I'm happy to talk through context and things at the upcoming Hangout on Air. So thank you very much for your time. I hope it was useful, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.